The Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, Week 11, DraftKings Millionaire Maker ownership picks and projections and pivot plays. We'll update some spreads towards the end of the show as well, and I want to let everyone know that the tagging system that we're using to project out all of the ownership for DraftKings in Week 11 comes from fansharesports.com. They have a brand new feature. If you click on a player, you'll see all of the mentions down at the bottom. Now, usually they're all just one color. Now, they have shifted to green and red. Green being good, red being bad. You can see who is liking a player and who is not liking a player this week if you become a member at fansharesports.com. Get the premium access membership. Boom, you're in the know to see all of the tags and all of the players that are being talked up. I do want to give away 20 DK bucks too, and it's an easy way to do it. Like the episode, leave your DraftKings handle in the comment section, and let me know what you think Dion Lewis's ownership is going to be in the Week 11 Millionaire Maker. I'm having a tough time wrapping my mind around what his projection is going to be, so maybe if we can group think this out a little bit, hey, we'll have a reasonable answer. We'll take the average, see what happens. I'll be giving away the winners on Monday's show, 10 a.m. Eastern Time on the DraftKings YouTube channel live. I'll also be live Sunday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Time on the same DraftKings YouTube channel. Also on my Facebook page, facebook.com/thepme, and on Periscope/Twitter, where we're ramping it up for Week 11 for whatever reason. But hey, it took 11 weeks, but we're here now. You can watch it all starting 10 a.m. Eastern Time with myself, Gary and Thorne, and one Mr. Tim Andercast. Joining me to break this all down from DK Live, it's Geoff Ulrich. What's going on, my man?
Yeah, not too much. Just looking at that Dion Lewis ownership possibility here. I mean, there's not much under 5K for running backs, so I can see him getting up there.
I can too. There's one other guy that I like, but it's more of like a cash play, floor play. I don't really know what the upside is, but we'll get to him in a second. Let's start with the most tagged running backs of the week per fansharesports.com. Coming in at number 1 on the list, David Johnson, followed by Ezekiel Elliott, and then Saquon Barkley is third. Other players that I project for over 15% in the Millionaire Maker, Dion Lewis, Melvin Gordon, and Alvin Kamara. James Conner is just lingering around there, so out of the very top end, it seems like everyone's making their choice. Saquon, and then they're going Saquon, they're going Elliott, then they're dropping immediately to David Johnson. That's how people are picking their running backs this week. Do you think it's wise to fade any of these guys, or is there one that you like less than the other ones? Because David Johnson is obviously like worse than the top two, but he's also $1,000 to $1,200 in savings.
Yeah, no, I mean it's tough for me to say fading Ezekiel Elliott. I think that's the one I would feel most uncomfortable about fading this week. I mean, it's a high usage running back on a team that likes to run against the Falcons. Like and Elliott has been getting involved more in the pass game as the years progress too, it seems. So he's still not the greatest receiver, but he doesn't have to be against Atlanta necessarily. Now they do have I can't remember the dude's name, but they do have a defensive piece coming back this week.
No, Deion Jones is not going to end up playing in this game. He's been
he's not playing. Yeah. Okay, well, never mind. So there you go. I mean, it just spices up the matchup even more for Ezekiel Elliott. I think he'd be the player I'd be most inclined not to fade of those three and really want to get a piece of, especially in cash games. Look, I was on David Johnson last week, so I mean, first of all, I guess I'm tooting my own horn, but I don't know. I mean,
okay, well, hold on a second. If you play David Johnson every single week, can you claim credit for the 1 week he's great?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that is true because I was probably on him like the 4 weeks prior to that. So I guess I'm not really tooting my own horn, but we finally got through. We finally had a big week, so that was nice. But I guess my point is, how can you like him that much at this like insane ownership that he's probably going to be at, right? Like possibly pushing over 25%, I could see. So at the same time, I can't say it's not a good spot, and I can't say that he's not going to put up like another 35 points because he easily could. I'd be more inclined to maybe just spend up to Elliott and maybe Barkley and then go value play for my third, and maybe take a piece of like the Arizona pass game, like a Christian Kirk in a GPP. I don't think you necessarily have to fade any of these guys. I think they're all in such good spots. You're going to want to get exposure. But again, we're talking must plays. For me, it's Elliott.
So in terms of actual ownership, the one guy that is just flying underneath the radar for all of this is Joe Mixon. He's projected to come in at like 4%. Connor's going to come in at like 12 to 15%, which is still double digits, but is significantly less than everyone else at this top end. Like him and McCaffrey are the two that are a bit down, but I still think I'd prefer Connor. Like the fact that he's going to end up playing, I think. I mean, I haven't seen any more reports, but he's been practicing all week, so I assume he's passed the concussion protocol. Tune in Sunday morning to see if that's true or not. But like, why not play him? Like, he's smashed in every tough spot that there's been. Jacksonville is not all that great. It just seems strange that people are away from him this week, although the price is even down a little bit.
Yeah, and this is part of the reason why I don't mind fading David Johnson, because James Conner is right there. Is going to be like half owned, right? Most likely. So
or more.
I agree 100%. I think he's going to be fine to play. You do worry a little bit. Jalen Samuels is getting involved, but I still think the Steelers view him as more of just, someone they're trying to get a little bit of work. I don't think he's going to cut in very much. Like, I don't think they're going to start rolling Jalen Samuels out there in really high pressure situations. So I like the spot for James Conner a lot. I mean, Jacksonville has been imploding lately. So like you said, I mean, he's taking care of tough matchups. I mean, he's just performing, and his price is it's a bargain. I mean, he's cheaper than David Johnson off of one good David Johnson game. So that's the guy I would be targeting too. I wrote up Mixon in my GPP targets too. So there is some interest there. He's definitely a little bit more boomer bust because like this Cincinnati offense is all over the place. But the Ravens defense has been they've been susceptible to running backs the last couple times out. So I don't mind that either. But Connor's definitely the safer play, I think, for me.
So it's weird because Fournette looks like he's going to carry more ownership than both James Conner and Joe Mixon. I'll just take a straight pass on that one. But then everyone else below Leonard Fournette, when we start looking at the price, like Mac, Kerryon Johnson, Adrian Peterson, there's no Chris Thompson again this week. So, and it's a spot where everyone's off of Adrian Peterson. That is generally when he goes off, when no one wants to play him in a bad matchup. So keep that in mind. Tevin Coleman, Phillip Lindsay, like all these guys are projected at like 3% ownership.
Yeah.
I like Kerryon the best out of all these guys.
I think I'd have to agree. I mean, I think people are just assuming Theo Riddick catches all these passes, but they're talking about using him in the slot. So, I mean, that's a different role, right?
We'll get to Sir Theo here in a second.
Yeah, for sure. But I was just bringing it up in terms of Kerryon Johnson's usage. I mean, it doesn't mean Kerryon Johnson's not going to get like less snaps. He might actually get more snaps. So I agree on Kerryon Johnson. I'm a little bit interested in Phillip Lindsay too. The Chargers' run defense isn't that good. Now, the Broncos center went down with an ACL injury this morning.
It was the left guard went down with an ACL injury in practice yesterday afternoon, and the center was lost last week. So their offensive line is like toast.
Okay.
And Royce Freeman is back.
I was half right. I mean, they lost another offensive lineman. So and Royce Freeman is back. That is the other factor. But Lindsay was doing pretty well even when Royce Freeman was there. So. Again, I do like Kerryon Johnson more, but I think Lindsay has some appeal as like a tournament target. Obviously, again, I'm at like 3% ownership, and he's just done well all year. So, but very boomer bust play.
So the guys below $5,000, I mentioned Dion Lewis up at the top. I have him projected around 20% ownership. It's a really easy number for me to get to. It's going to be give or take that a little bit. It's probably going to be above that because the build is going to be exactly what we just talked about off the top. It's going to be like Barkley and or Elliott, David Johnson, and Lewis. Like those three guys are just going to be in a ton of lineups this week. And it makes a lot of sense. I love Dion Lewis in this matchup. He's a great play, but if he's going to carry 20 up to 25% ownership, that's a bit tougher. Ingram's coming in around like 12%. He's another highly owned guy. And Theo Riddick is the other one because you mentioned it. There's no Marvin Jones this week. He's been ruled out. So they have the freshly signed Bruce Ellington, TJ Jones, like some guy named like Brandon Powell, who everyone was really big on 2 weeks ago, like hasn't seen the field at all. So it looks like Riddick's going to line up in the slot. And if that's the case, then he's basically a receiver. Still might end up in the backfield for like 10 to 15% of the snaps, but he's going to be on the field a lot more than we're used to seeing Theo Riddick being on the field. He's super cheap. He's only, $4,000? Like, cash games fire him up. I think you can even use him in GPPs too. Now, I don't know how much the Marvin Jones news is going to affect his ownership because I'm looking at it now. The news had just come out as we're speaking that Marvin Jones is going to be ruled out for Sunday, but 7% tops probably.
Yeah, I don't think people are going to go crazy on Theo Riddick. I think most of the ownership will go because you have Kerryon Johnson and you have Kenny Golladay, right? So not everyone's going to roster like 3 Lions. So I think Riddick will probably be the lowest owned of those 3 or potentially will be. So no, I agree. I mean, I think it's shaping up as a good spot. I mean, the guy caught like 5 or 6 passes last week, and he was splitting time with Blunt and Johnson, right? So it's a good spot. Matt Stafford likes to use Theo Riddick in the red zone too. That's another factor. So if he gets into the end zone, it's crush time, right? So Yeah, I agree on Riddick. Even if he gets up to like 10%, I agree on Dion Lewis. I really do feel like I just don't think there's enough targets out there, popular like swerve plays for him not to be 20% owned. So even though it feels like he's not getting that much talk about, I think Dion Lewis is just in a price point where he's going to get owned this week. So there are some interesting plays though you can go to. I mean, Jalen Richard he's only 4,300. He's like the leading receiver on Oakland. So he's still in play at 4,300.
Well, I mean, if you can make the case that, and we've seen it, that's the biggest problem, that if Theo Riddick's going to play the slot for the Lions and he's going to have this target base that's in there, and then Rocket Richard has his target base every single week, but down Martavis Bryant, down Jordy Nelson, both have been ruled out. Maybe he sees more run at receiver.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like the Theo Riddick role, right? Except for the Raiders. So, yeah, I have no problem using Richard this week. I mean, it's still a pretty good matchup against Arizona. Although Arizona's defense has been pretty solid. They certainly were good last week, right? So the other player I don't mind taking a look at this week is Peyton Barber at 36.
Okay, hold on. I like Peyton Barber too, but here are the other two guys that are like getting the buzz here that could like breach double digits, which I find kind of strange. One is Alex Collins. I like Alex Collins this week because of the uncertainty at running back, but we know it's either going to be Lamar or it's going to be Robert Griffin III. I think this helps Alex Collins, but his volume is always going to be unpredictable. If you have those two guys in the game, they might steal the rushing touchdowns. Who knows? We've still seen Buck Allen be utilized near the goal line, but I do think it's a spot where you can take a chance on Alex Collins a little bit. And the one that I was stunned about when the projections all ran through, Josh Adams, $3,300, could project around 10% ownership, and I want to stay way far away from that. That would be where Peyton Barber comes in, where he's just so much more of a lock to get 15 touches than Adams.
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100%. It's Doug Peterson, right? I mean, Doug Peterson's talked up Josh Adams a little bit, but he's also mentioned like he thinks Corey Clement should get a few more carries and stuff like that. Like he's not made a move to making Josh Adams a feature back, and he's never had a feature back since he's been the coach of the Eagles. So I like Josh Adams. I think he is the best back on the Eagles right now, but he's not going to get like full-time, even 50% of the snaps. At least I really would be shocked if he did. He's probably still going to see 30-40% of the snaps max, and he might not get the goal line carries. So there's a lot of risk there. He is only 3,300, but yeah, I prefer Barber too. It's a good matchup. The Giants have allowed 4 touchdowns to running backs the last 2 games and 2 100-yard rushers in the last 2 games. They really hurt without Harrison there as a run stopper. So I think Barber's in for a big week, personally.
I hope so, too. He just hasn't had a big week since Fitzpatrick has been center. All of his decent weeks have come with Jameis playing quarterback, so that worries me a little bit. It's not because the usage has gone away. They just don't run when they get in close. So if you think that the game script is this game's going to be close and the Bucs can continue to run the ball, I love Barber, so I'll be using him in a bit because I think the Bucs win this game. If you think that the Giants are going to win, going to Jaquiz Rodgers without Ronald Jones around, he's going to be the guy in the passing game.
Yeah, no, I mean, Jaquiz is definitely in play too. I mean, like you said, it just depends how the game breaks. I'm more inclined on your view as well. I mean, I think this game at the very least will be close. I think these are 2 pretty similar teams. I don't see one just coming out and stomping. The Giants haven't stomped anyone, and I don't think they're just going to start this week. And the Bucs have been, up and down, but they have made it close against other teams. Like they were close against Cleveland, Atlanta. They even hung in for a bit. So I'd lean towards Peyton Barber over Rodgers, but you never know. I mean, Rodgers could see a ton of passes again.
Wide receivers, the most tagged per fansharesports.com, heading into week 11 at the very, very, very top. The most expensive guy is the most tagged guy. Michael Thomas, Amari Cooper is second, Corey Davis is third. If you're telling me that Amari Cooper and Corey Davis are going to be the second highest and third highest owned guys of the week, and that's not quite how I have them projected, but I do have them carrying a lot of ownership, that makes me want to run so far in the other direction. Like, yeah, we're going to have the 2 most untrustworthy receivers in the league as like 2 of the 5 highest owned receivers on the slate. That screams fade, doesn't it?
It does, but it's good spots for both of them, isn't it? I mean,
they are. I get it completely.
Yeah.
It's just those names don't engender a whole lot of confidence.
Oh, I agree 100%. I mean, and look, like it's two of the lowest volume passing offenses too, but Atlanta and Indy, I mean, they play at fast pace. They're not good at covering the wide receiver position. So I don't know. I mean, of these 2, I think I'd actually lean towards Cooper. His targeting has been very consistent, and he's looked much better. I mean, He's looked better. His usage has been consistent over 2 games. I think I trust Cooper there over Corey Davis. Again, the Titans just have more ways they can score. Mariota can score on the ground. Derrick Henry could break off a big run. They could just screen pass to Dion Lewis. For the Cowboys, it's basically either they run it in or they're probably going to throw to Cooper, right? Because they don't exactly have a ton of other passing options. So I would feel better going with Cooper over Davis if you're going to eat the chalk with one of these guys. I'm definitely okay with fading Corey Davis in that Titans basket.
Well, here's what you can do. So I have Amari Cooper projected around 23% ownership. I have Corey Davis projected around 20% ownership. And Kenny Golladay is right there too. And he's going to be around 20% now that Marvin Jones is going to be out. So there's other guys in the cracks here. Like, no one's owning any piece of the Falcons passing game because they're scared of Dallas's defense. But you mentioned the high pace, and maybe this is a spot where Julio Jones gets shadowed and shut down. Meaning in all of those games so far this season, Calvin Ridley has been the one to go off in those spots. Not Mohamed Sanu, Calvin Ridley, when the team really puts an emphasis on shutting down Julio Jones. And I believe that Dallas actually has the defensive pieces in order to do that. He is the guy in the middle of all of this pricing at 5,700. That's where all those guys drop. That he may be the best pivot play on the board.
Yeah, no, I mean, you definitely should be looking at the other options for Atlanta this week. We didn't really talk about Tevin Coleman too much, but I don't mind going there at all. But the secondary receivers, I agree 100% because I definitely don't want to attack Byron Jones in the secondary. I know it's Julio, but still, I'd much rather look at Ridley or Sanu. And again, I agree. I mean, Sanu's floor or ceiling just seems capped to me. I mean, he just never really, when he scores, he gets like 18 points, right? Ridley's obviously the guy who goes off. So that would be the way I'd go at receiver as well. The other play is Austin Hooper. Obviously, we'll talk about him later, but yeah, I like looking at the peripheral secondary guys on Atlanta for sure.
Yeah, the other guys that you can kind of focus on, like Chris Godwin's dealing with an ankle injury. Maybe that's good news for Deshaun Jackson. He's in that range. He's projected to be very lowly owned. And maybe there's something wrong with my projections, but right now that I have Golden Tate at double the ownership of Alshon, which just seems nuts.
Yeah, it is nuts. I agree. I mean, Golden Tate's going to be fighting Nelson Aguilar for targets. He's fighting Zach Ertz for targets. Alshon is the outside guy. So, I agree. I'm not touching Golden Tate. I mean, I know Doug Peterson talked him up a little bit this week and said, oh, they got more of a role for him, but I just don't see him getting he's not going to get 8 targets in this offense. It's just impossible with all the other weapons and how much Wentz likes throwing to Ertz. So I haven't even looked at Golden Tate's salary this week. That's how little I care about him.
Yeah, it's 5,500, so he falls in the middle of all these guys. Yet he's still carrying ownership. Like Sterling Shepard is also still carrying like 14% ownership around this spot. So one of these guys is going to fall a lot lower than maybe I have them projected out as. But like I mentioned, Calvin Ridley is a nice sort of he's just sandwiched right there in between a lot of guys that people are owning that no one is going to. He's a guy to go to. T.Y. Hilton's carrying a lot of ownership. I get that. I'd much prefer to play him. The other one is John Brown, who's going to be like 1% owned because no one trusts what's going on in the Ravens backfield. And I would feel more comfortable if it was Robert Griffin announced as the starter rather than Lamar Jackson. But if these are two guys, and we talk about how they're going to buy time in the backfield, they're probably going to concentrate a bit more on the run. But the one thing that these guys also do is extend plays in the backfield, and that just allows the burners to get open downfield. So if you want to take a shot with John Brown, let's say you play 10 lineups. If you use him in one, you own him 10 times the field.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, this whole range kind of feels like a dead zone, obviously. So you're going to be able to get
it does feel dead, but everyone's going to it because everyone's paying so far up at running back that this is where they're hammering receiver. Because once you start going down at receiver, there's like bad players.
Yeah, I mean, once you get like really far down, I agree. But yeah, John Brown, I'm not going to go there. I think it's going to be Lamar Jackson. I think they're going to do some, more trickery, whatever you want to call it. And then they'll be conservative with Griffin. But I agree. It just takes one play, right? So, and you're spot on with, Lamar Jackson's able to extend, and there is going to be some opportunity for John Brown, I assume, this week to catch a long one or something. But it's a little bit too risky for me. And I do like some of the players under 5K, and I think they have just similar upside. So I'm fine paying down there instead of taking shots with these guys personally.
So I mentioned Thomas, Cooper, and Davis, the top 3 in terms of tagging. The other 4 that I have at like chalky ownership coming in, DeAndre Hopkins, Kenny Golladay, Antonio Brown, and T.Y. Hilton. At the very top, I mentioned there is Michael Thomas, he's going to be like 22, 23% owned. It makes a lot of sense. It's Michael Thomas and the highest projected shootout game of the main slate. That's a game that you want to attack. The other guy carrying a ton of ownership is going to be Hopkins. I prefer Hopkins over anyone at the top end. I don't care if he's 20% owned. He's a guy that you want to play, especially at the price discount that you're getting. He's always $900 cheaper than Michael Thomas. I'll take that. Julio is sort of interesting. I don't love him in this spot, though, but he kind of produces every week. Beckham will be pretty chalky. Brown will be chalky. But then the guys right below, there's 3 guys all in a row. Actually, 5 guys all in a row. You got Evans, Boyd, Juju, Keenan Allen, and Alshon Jeffrey. Those guys aren't going to be particularly owned by anyone. There will be like 5 to 10% at best.
Yeah, first of all, I 100% agree on Hopkins. He'd be, I don't know about must play, but he'd definitely be the guy I want to target there. Redskins secondary has been getting burned a lot lately. They're still banged up, Quentin Dunbar. So, I like Hopkins a lot. And of the guys below, I know some people have been talking about Tyler Boyd, and I don't think I'm going to go there. I just don't know how he's going to function like long-term without AJ Green. It's a bounce back spot, but I think I'd prefer either Mike Evans or those players below him. Alshon maybe not volume enough, but like Keenan Allen, I could see. I mean, he's gone off against tougher competition before, so you're getting a real discount. I think Mike Evans might be the guy though against the Giants for me. It's just their defense is so weak, and they just make so many mistakes. So all it takes is one play for Mike Evans to go 50 yards for a touchdown, and then he's also getting pretty good volume. So I think that's I think that's where I would go because you're getting a pretty good discount on him too. So
I think I'm with you on Mike Evans because it's the bad games that he's had hasn't been because of a lack of volume. The volume's been there. He's just been bad, or he's of the like elite quote unquote receivers. He's like tier 2 elite, but he's the one that seems like he's most able to be taken out of a game against good coverage. But the joke's on the Giants. They have no good coverage. So Mike Evans, this is a decent spot. The one thing with Boyd, I don't love him either, but this is the classic. Everyone was on him last week. He sucked in a good spot. Now that he's in a bad spot the week after the price goes down, it just seems like a week to play him. I don't know if I'll have the guts to do it, but the way that this stuff always happens, Tyler Boyd's going to smash.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, that's why I say it, because his price, I think most people just look at him this week and like he's too expensive. Like, why would I pay that when like Sanders is and Hilton are like 6K or Galladay's 58? So you're going to get just like major depressed ownership, and he's basically going to be the number one, right? Like he's going to see number one targeting. So again, I feel like it's risky, but the payoff or whatever is going to be there this week because you're going to get him at should be like nothing owned. So
yeah, so I think I like Evans and Alshon the best of the guys down in that range. Sub 5,000, no one's really peaking all that much. Like people are on John Brown, people are playing Aguilar, which I can't really condone. I get that you want a piece of that game, but I'd rather just take like Traquan's going to be like 9-10% owned, but I'd rather take him than Aguilar.
Yeah, I'm not so big on Traquan, although I guess like Brandon Marshall, I don't think he's playing this week. So
well, it's just a play to get the cheap pieces of that game, and he's the cheapest like receiver who plays a lot.
Yeah, no, for sure. And again, like especially if you're game sagging, that makes sense. I like Christian Kirk personally there. I don't mind Courtland Sutton either, but I think I prefer Kirk. Again, he's seen consistent targeting. The Cardinals are in a good spot against the Raiders. Obviously, they played really well last week. This is a team who's played better than their record indicates some points of the year. Their new OC, the Raiders secondary, they don't allow huge yardage games, but that's because they get beat up so often and so quickly that the other teams just don't have to pass. All it takes is Christian Kirk to break one play, and he's definitely their big play wide receiver there. So that's where I would go this week. I really like him in this spot. Definitely not going to be highly owned at all. That's the player I really like in this range.
And there's no Chad Williams. He's out with an ankle injury, so just more concentrated market share for him. Larry Fitzgerald's also another one that was in that range of the super chalk 5K guys that no one's really going to. So he's a play as well if you wanted to pivot onto him. The guys that I like from this 4K range, I might sprinkle a little bit onto Traquan, just a little bit, but I actually kind of like Maurice Harris again. So everyone was on him last week. He didn't come through. Now no one wants to own him. But I think this matchup, at least game flow wise, should be a lot better for him. Like the Skins jumped out to a lead against the Bucs and they never had to pass. So why would Maurice Harris rack up targets? No Crowder again. He's already been ruled out. He's going to be in the slot against the Texans. The Texans can be passed on. Like, that's not crazy. And they funnel everything to the pass because you can't run on them. So he's up $600 in price. He was chalk last week, didn't come through. He seems like a nice bounce back type of guy. And it's almost like the same thing as the Tyler Boyd situation, except you're getting a $2,500 discount on someone like Maurice Harris to come through for you. And now people will be on Doxson because he caught a touchdown in 2 straight. But Harris is the one that's seeing more volume and the potential for the highest amount of volume. So I don't hate him in this spot. I don't really want a part of John Ross chalk again. I did like that he scored a touchdown, but he's still John Ross. So that's difficult for me to really pull the trigger on. And Funchess is carrying some ownership, but with Torrey Smith out again, I think you might be able to go to DJ Moore against the Lions.
I think I'd rather go to Curtis Samuel. I just think he's a better player.
But Samuel, I know they get him involved in like the gadgets and all the bubble screens, but like they'll throw to DJ Moore. They don't really throw to Curtis Samuel.
Yeah, no, it's true. Like he's maxing out at 4 targets, 5 targets a game. But I just feel like if you're going to target either one of those players, you're going for the big play. So why not take the cheaper one and the guy who's maybe a little bit of a better open field runner? Although DJ Moore is fine too. I think they're both kind of in play. It's kind of just pick your poison because obviously these guys could poison your lineup, so to speak, with like a nothing game. But I think I'd rather go to Samuel. I just like his skill set better. And I think the Panthers should be getting him more involved because he's looked really good. So I don't mind going there. I don't mind Michael Gallup there at 3,700. It's kind of the same thing we said about Ridley. I mean, if they're going to hyper-focus on Cooper and everyone's going to own Cooper, I mean, Michael Gallup has a great matchup, and it just takes like 1 30-yard touchdown. He pays off. So I don't absolutely hate the idea of using him this week either.
Well, I think that's a really interesting situation that instead of the pivot play of someone in the range, if you pivot off of Cooper, you just pivot down to Michael Gallup and hope he's the one to score the touchdown. Then you double box out everyone because if he has the good game and Cooper doesn't, now you're sitting very pretty against anyone who has Cooper, and he comes in a substantially lower price that you can build up the rest of your lineup. So I like that move. The Raiders receivers are the other one. So I'm a big fan of Brandon LaFell Sexwell, but because of Martavis Bryant being out and because of Jordy Nelson being out, is Patrick Peterson going to cover Brandon LaFell?
I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, man. Like he'll probably cover like Richard, right? That's probably who should be covering.
But what happens when Richard's not on the field? Like he probably just goes like if LaFell's going to play on the outside, it's probably going to be him, which means Seth Roberts might be the play.
Yeah,
no one.
Yeah, no one is probably the play. Jared Cook, maybe that might be the play. I've given up even thinking about the Oakland wide receivers. Although, like it's Seth Roberts, LaFell, someone could easily like have a 100-yard game here. And I mean that sounds crazy to say because how bad the Raiders have been, but someone if someone just gets in a groove with Carr and Peter gets on the opposite side of Peterson. I mean, Budda Baker's banged up a little bit too, so something else to consider. I don't think he's actually in for this game. So again, it's worth it. It's worth thinking about it, even though I'm not going to think about it because these guys are so cheap, right? So I think Seth Roberts is probably the way I would lean, although LaFell is for some reason just keeps seeing like 5 or 6 targets. Definitely in play too. Again, it's probably not a situation that you want to worry too much about, but if you're really going to go there and you really need a min-price guy with some legitimate upside, I think LaFell and Roberts are probably both in play.
Just to piggyback on that Michael Gallup point, I'm starting to dig it a little bit more now that you've brought it up, that he actually played 84% of the snaps against the Eagles.
Yeah.
Cooper only played 78% of those snaps. So he's on the field. Yes, they're forcing the ball to Cooper, but if they can just even like bracket coverage towards Cooper a little bit, and they might just have to focus on Ezekiel Elliott. So all of this just might be useless information, but I think it's a respectable pivot play if you want to take that chance to go Gallup over Cooper.
Yeah, Gallup has leapfrogged like Alan Hearns and the rest of the scrubs.
Oh yeah, Alan Hearns played like 22% of the snaps. He's like a non-factor here.
Yeah, he's basically just red zone packages only or something now. So Gallup's out there. I mean, he's in play. That's why I said if everyone, like you said, I mean, if Atlanta's going to shift coverage over to Cooper, which would make sense, then Gallup is in play for like a long touchdown or something this week.
Quarterbacks, care of fansharesports.com. Tagging system. We got Carson Wentz. We got some Drew Brees. We got some Dak Prescott. The other one's carrying probably over 6-7% ownership. Marcus Mariota, Andrew Luck. The good and bad thing is where there's so many like good quarterback plays this week, no one's going to carry a ton of ownership. So like even though that Wentz is at 63 and Brees is at 65, the two highest price guys and the two most talked about guys, I doubt either one of them pushes like 12, 13% ownership. So it's pretty flat. You can take whoever you want. There's no need to pivot off of anyone because of ownership.
Yeah, it doesn't look like one of those super chalky weeks. And obviously, we always talk about quarterback it's not that chalky a position, anyways. I feel like Wentz will be the highest owned. I feel like it just feels safe. He's got a little bit of rushing upside and could be used around the goal line, too. And Eagles are likely to be behind. So I think when people start looking at it, that's where most people gravitate. Doesn't mean you have to fade him, though, because I don't think he's going to be crazy owned. 12% max, maybe, something like that. So there are some interesting pivots, though. Like, I like Cam Newton this week. I mean, the Panthers have the second highest implied team total on the slate. Cam's been better on the road, mainly because their defense has been worse. So he's been getting into more shootout games on the road. He's basically the same price as Wentz, and he's going to be half owned maybe. So I really like that. And we talked about DeAndre Hopkins. I really like Deshaun Watson this week.
We're way too much on the same page here. In my article up on DK Playbook, my 1 and 2 top GPP quarterback plays are Cam and Deshaun Watson. I also kind of like the Fitzmagic as well, because that's another high implied just game total, and people are kind of staying away from the Tampa side of the ball.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I heard some people talking about Eli, but I agree. I mean, Fitzmagic is the one who's shown the upside this week with the 30-point or this year with the 30-point games, right? Not Eli. So, I definitely agree. I like going to the opposite side of that game where, Saquon Barkley could rush it in twice. I mean, just use Saquon and Fitzmagic and the Tampa receivers, right? So if you want a game stack there, on you with that. Feels like Marcus Mariota, maybe not a trap, but just not really a player I necessarily have to go to if people are going to be all over him. It's a nice setup, but again, he hasn't really shown us this crazy upside this year. So outside of one game that went to overtime. So
and if Mariota's only 55, why wouldn't you just pay up the $400 and take Luck, who's great every week?
That's what I've been saying too. I mean, we really are on the same page this week, because that's what I've been saying. I mean, Andrew Luck's been playing so amazing. He's been going off against Jacksonville and the Jets and Buffalo. Of course he can go off against Tennessee, right? I mean, they don't have a good secondary. So, yeah, I agree. Just go up to Andrew Luck and stack him with T.Y. Hilton.
Any interest in one of the Ravens quarterbacks if we get definitive news that Lamar Jackson is starting or Robert Griffin is starting, because they cheap?
Yeah, they're cheap, but I think they're going to use a combo of both, and I really think it's going to kill their upside. Obviously, if I was going to take one, it would just be Lamar Jackson, just because I'd be going for the home run, the 50-yard rushing touchdown. I'm not gonna go there. That's basically just my decision. I've seen this play out so many times where people get excited about this rookie quarterback who's a really good runner and he's super cheap, and it just doesn't work out. And there's just no point, especially with some good upside spots. I'll just look for value elsewhere. That's the way I'm looking at it.
Tight ends, number 1, no shocker, Zach Ertz coming in with a lot of ownership. Number 2 on that list is Ricky Seals-Jones down at 2,900, who I actually do like this week, so I'm kind of bummed that he's going to be somewhat owned. And then Jack Doyle. The problem is, I have Ertz projected around 20% ownership and no other tight end projected for more than 10. Seals-Jones and Doyle would be the closest, but Ebron at 8, Doyle at 9.5. But you can kind of pick and choose your poison here. Is there anyone that you actually really like? You like Austin Hooper, you said?
Yeah, I guess I'm on the Austin Hooper train now, but I don't know why people. I really thought this is the one that surprised me the most when I looked at the tags this week. I thought he was going to be top 2, top 3 at the position at the very least. This guy's seen very consistent targeting. We're talking in the 8 to 10 range, and then he's going up against Dallas, who it's pretty much their weakest spot on the field covering, especially without Sean Lee. So I don't know why people aren't over this, quite frankly. I mean, I guess maybe it's just the price increase and people like Austin Hooper, 4,500, but you compare him to Zach Ertz and you just look at the rest of the board. I mean, who else are you going to go to other than Zach Ertz? So you basically,
I think you can go to Olsen or Howard, because I think those are both very capable pivots coming in at no ownership because they're pricey. Because everyone wants to, if they're going to pay down, quote unquote, or pay mid range, they're going to Jack Doyle or they're going to go to Austin Hooper. Austin Hooper, I still have projected to be 4th in ownership. So you have Olsen and you have it's one bad week for OJ Howard, and now no one wants him, and his price has gone up, or his price has gone down $400. No one wants him, but he's been super consistent outside of 1 week.
He has, and look, I like OJ Howard, so I mean, I've probably talked about it on the show a lot, but if I'm looking at him with Hooper, I know Hooper's got the targeting. I mean, Howard's targeting, it's a little bit more inconsistent. Now the matchup is good. We saw George Kittle just go nuts last week. he's not going to get targeted like George Kittle. So just remember that, because obviously Tampa has more options, but definitely like more capable of breaking off the big play. So and Evan Ingram is kind of in a similar spot, quite frankly. He doesn't need to do much. Like he just needs a few targets in the right spot to go off with a big play, because Howard and Ingram are such good athletes, right? But again, when you're comparing them against Hooper, I just feel like with that target floor and the matchup, I just rather Hooper. I think both those guys that we just mentioned, Ingram and Howard, are in play for GPPs. But if I'm going to get Hooper at like 10% owned, I'll just go there personally.
The other pivot that I can see, if people are on Ricky Seals-Jones, you have Jeff Hierman, who's right there. He'll carry like 5% owned. And maybe I'm a sucker, and I am a sucker because I lose all the time. But CJ Uzomah is coming in less than 1% owned now. He's a guy who's still on the field 95% of the time.
I'm done with CJ Uzomah.
So is everyone. But
I'm just done.
I'm just going to keep playing him until he scores a fucking touchdown.
Yeah. Thing is, he'll score a touchdown, then he'll get like 2 targets and get like 9 points. So, I mean, I agree. He's on the field all the time. I'm not going to go there anymore. I think it would have happened already. I'm sure he'll go off for 20 points after me saying this. I don't mind James O'Shaughnessy, though.
You and everyone else. He is the one carrying like a bit of ownership down here. Him and Johnny Smith are going to be like 3 and 5% owned at tight end. I like O'Shaughnessy too. Yeah, I think that's where I'd go. I mean, Jacksonville trying to make things like less aggressive in the pass game. They've just funneled this to their crappy tight ends. And I mean, O'Shaughnessy is going to get like, it seems like 5 or 6 targets a game, man. And if he ever finds the end zone at 2,600, it's huge. So pretty good matchup against Pittsburgh too. So yeah, I actually really like that play this week. Defenses to close this off for the ownership projections, care of FanShares Sports. The number 1 defense of the week is going to be the Arizona Cardinals. The Texans coming at number 2, the Steelers at number 3. I have the Cardinals D projected around like 20%. That's too high for me. I'll just use the Steelers. They're chalky, but they're not too chalky, and I think they're in a way better matchup. Well, we continue our trend of being on the same side of everything, because I agree. I want to play the Cardinals, but in GPPs, like the Cardinals at 25% ownership, it just seems a little bit risky, a little bit unnecessary. And the Steelers in a great spot. I mean, the Steelers, they remember what happened last year. They're getting Jacksonville at like their absolute worst tier team in turmoil. The Steelers are playing really well. This is a big spot. I mean, the Steelers lead the league in sacks. So I agree. 2,900, that's where I'd go if you're getting like half the ownership or whatever. Also don't mind some of these cheaper defenses, but yeah, I guess I don't mind eating the chalk with Arizona, because I really do feel like they're going to flatten the Raiders. But I'm usually shifting off those chalky defenses because it's DST and it's so variable. So, and the big 2 other that I'm looking at, the Ravens are 1. They'll come in around like 6-7% coming off the bye week. We just saw what happened to Cincinnati last week. Now it's in Baltimore. That could be a pretty decent spot if you think the Bengals offense is just inert without AJ Green in it. And the other one is the Bucs. Like, I even used them last week against Washington. I think they scored like 9 points. Like, it's not great, but they're a $2,200 defense. And now they get Eli, and the pass rush is still pretty good. Yeah, the 2 down there. I mean, I don't actually hate going to Cincinnati either, although it's a little bit of a risky play just with Griffin and Lamar Jackson back there. I do feel like the Ravens will be confident enough not to do anything. Like, I don't feel like the Ravens offense is going to be a complete dumpster fire this week. It might not be super effective, but I feel like with Lamar Jackson and Robert Griffin back there, 2 mobile quarterbacks, they're going to be able to move the ball a bit. So Cincinnati has some appeal, but I don't hate the idea of going all the way down to the Broncos either. I mean, you still got a really good pass rush. Not like Phillip Rivers hasn't thrown a pick 6 in his career. So I think I'd prefer, if you can get up to the Bucs at 2,200, I'd prefer that too. But I don't hate the Broncos if you need a min-price play. I really feel like they're in play. Kind of like the Bucs last week. Well, one thing that you can do, and this is super risky if you want to do it, is target the teams that are just bad on special teams. So the worst teams in the league right now on special teams per DVOA, the Chargers are the worst. Tampa is near the worst. They're 4th worst. Oakland is the 5th worst. Denver's down there as well. And Detroit's another one. So Carolina's D might be one that you could run out. Yeah, definitely. I mean, they're not getting talked up much about. I mentioned previously, like, they haven't performed well on the road, which worries me a little bit. But it's home road splits. We're talking about like 4 games here, right? So not that big a worry. Still, you're going to get them at really low ownership too, right? So yeah, definitely a team to consider. I actually considered them
when I was doing my article this week over the Steelers. I think they were the ones I left off, but the road splits put me off a bit. But yeah, they're still in play. Lots of upside. I mean, Detroit they're kind of like Jacksonville. They're falling apart, right?
So I want to let everyone know that the odds and lines are subject to change. See website for actual odds. And if you or anyone you know has a gambling problem and wants some help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Let's talk some spreads and how they've moved throughout the course of the week. So as it pertains to the main slate, the highest over-under game is Philly and the Saints. That's 56. The next closest one, Tampa Bay and the Giants. That's 53. The only other one above 50 is right at the 50 number. That's Titans and Colts. Maybe Andrew Luck really is the play here at quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I know I was looking at that. I was expecting a high game total, and I got it. I mean, I think it was 49.5. Or has it moved to 50 now?
It's 50 now, yeah.
Yeah, so it's moved up, right? So, yeah, Colts play at the fastest pace in the NFL right now. I mean, Tennessee's offense is moving the ball pretty well. Definitely could see this getting over. I mean, Indianapolis keeps putting up points regardless of opponents.
So the other one, too, is the Saints opened to 7.5-point favorites against the Eagles. It went up to 9. It's back down to 8. Yet all the money is still coming in on the Colts, although the amount of picks have been on the Eagles. It's really strange. So 61% of picks, spread picks so far, have been on the Eagles in the plus, but the amount of money being bet is being bet on the Saints. Now, that probably has a lot to do with if you have to lay the juice on the money line, then you're going to have to bet more. Do you have a take in this game? Because I think New Orleans wins, and they cover the spread.
I think they cover. Hey, yeah.
Like they don't not cover. They've covered 7 in a row.
No, I know. Oh no, hey, the Saints have been good. I mean, I know I picked them against the Rams. I mean, they came through there. This would be a logical cover spot for them. I just feel like it's do or die for Philly this week, and you know, they're still the defending champs, and they have some obviously some pride to play with here a little bit, and they're getting Golden Tate now involved in the offense, have an extra week, so. I think this isn't a game I'm looking to target. First of all, it's definitely like low on my list that I'm looking at of games I want to target. I would probably lean Philly if I was going to take a side. I just feel like it's too big a number to give Carson Wentz and the Eagles.
If I had any guts, I would take the Raiders now plus 5.5 at Arizona. Because again, This is one where I believe it opened at 3, went to 4, went to 5. Now it's 5.5, and the money just keeps rolling in on Arizona. Like, do I really want to go along with the public as like a smash Arizona play? I like Arizona, but like, ugh. It's an absolute play against Oakland. I tried this last week, and Oakland should have covered last week, but they're terrible, so they didn't. They do things like spike the ball on 4th down. Like, that's not smart, and they're going to continue doing stupid things like this. And the fact that, like, they're down Jordy Nelson and Martavis Bryant, like, shouldn't impact anything, but you're like, well, who else do they have left? They have LaFell. That's basically it. So it's not a great situation. That's probably a stay-away game for me. I still really like the Bucks to win outright and cover. They're dropping too. Like the Giants are becoming bigger favorites. It opened as a pick. Now it's 1.5 Giants. I like the Bucks.
Yeah, I my sources or my notes here say the Bucks are the play. They keep popping up for me too. They've looked like a strong play the last couple of weeks. That's the way I would lean too. It's not like the top play for me, but I would lean the Bucks in that game. So going against the public a little bit. As far as Arizona goes, I'm going along with the public there. Arizona played Kansas City really tight last week. They were within a score going into the 4th quarter. I know it's Arizona. I know Josh Rosen can throw like a pick six, and you know they'll be down like 10 points very quickly, but I'm gonna have faith there. I really feel like Arizona is a better team now that they've gotten rid of Mike McCoy. They still have some nice pieces there. So I'm in on the Arizona, destroying the Raiders this week. I like Indy. I like Atlanta too.
I like Atlanta as well. That Indy one is one that's really moved though. It opened at 3 and the move just keeps moving towards Tennessee, and the money's coming in on Tennessee. So that's down to minus 1.5 now. I like Indy minus 1.5.
Yeah, I just, they beat the Patriots. Obviously it's like, oh my God, they beat the Patriots. They're indestructible. Right. So this is a tough matchup. I mean, it's a faster paced team with a really good quarterback, obviously on the road. Indy's been really covering well lately too. That's another factor. So I trust Indy. Tennessee's had a couple letdown spots. I like that. And I like Atlanta too.
For the Monday night game, here's a fun thing. It's minus 3.5. Now that the game's no longer in Mexico City, it's in LA. So the Rams are favored by 3.5. 88% of the cash is on the Chiefs. 87% of betting slips are on the Chiefs, and 93% of spread picks are on the Chiefs.
If I get the Monday night, Pat, and I'm a little down for the week, it's all going on the Rams.
Oh, really?
They got this forest fire thing, and don't follow this advice, by the way, but they got this forest fire thing going on. There's a little bit of narrative streak going on. I think the Rams know they're getting disrespected. I think all the hype is on Patrick Mahomes. I think the Rams is going to win this game, and they might win it by like 10 points. So, yeah, I like the spot for LA for sure this week.
Yeah, I'm starting to think that too. Like, I mean, I do like the +3.5 because I think the Chiefs are going to win. But if it gets to a point again where it's one of these primetime games, the best play in this game is probably just the over. Just take over 63.
That's true. Yep.
So, like, even money line bets on the Chiefs are going to come in. Right now, they're +155. Like, that's huge to get that much value on the Chiefs. We haven't seen that much value on the Chiefs since, like, week 2 against Pittsburgh when they smashed them up. So, I know the Rams, like, they haven't been covering games. They've been playing in these close games, but they've also been winning a lot of these close games. And if this game is close, maybe they have the wherewithal to win a close matchup where the Chiefs just play these blowouts all the time and just roll people that they're not accustomed to doing that. So, I want to check back in on Monday to see where all the money's at. Like, if the money stays at like where it's at right now and the line hasn't moved, like, that really sets off red flags that maybe I just avoid the game or potentially pivot onto the Rams.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if this does move down to 3 or even 2.5, God forbid, I mean, that would be like I said, that would be a real good spot for Monday night, regardless of your situation. But it's a game I'm definitely going to take a look at Monday too. I won't be betting it right now, but I'll take a look once Monday afternoon rolls around.
Geoff Ulrich of DK Live at The Fantasy Grind on Twitter. What do you got up on DK Playbook right now?
Yeah, the same article going every week. Obviously, the tournament plays for the week. Last week we hit David Johnson. That was nice. Not David Johnson there. You have to go actually read the article. You can find it up. I'll throw it up on Twitter soon at The Fantasy Grind. And also download this DK Live app for me because we do all the updates. All the videos are there, and you can just get it on. You can get on Sunday morning, watch all the stuff, or you can watch it Saturday night. I don't know.
Yeah, and if you want to watch this show or listen to the podcast, you can find that on the DK Live app. All the live streams will be through the DK Live app as well. So, and listen, I use it. It's the main app that I use to track every sport for stats and play-by-play. So I feel like everyone should be doing that.
Yeah, I mean, like we always say, I mean, if you haven't downloaded it, I mean, you're missing out.
Yeah, how about this? If you haven't downloaded the DK Live app, you're an idiot. That's probably my best sell job on. That's where I'm going with it.
All right. Fair enough.
All right. I'm Pat Mayo. You can follow me at the PME, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You can check out the live show Sunday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern time, and Monday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern time. That's when we'll be doing the giveaway winner. If you want to get into the giveaway draw this week, hit the smash the like button on the episode. Leave your DraftKings handle in the comment section. And please tell me what you think Deanna Lewis's Millionaire Maker ownership will be in Week 11. And hey, you're in a draw for 20 DK bucks. Do check out that live show on Sunday, though. You'll be able to find it on Periscope, Twitter, Facebook, and the DK Live app and the DraftKings YouTube page. I'll be taking viewer questions around 11 a.m. Eastern time once we go through all the inactives, set up all the games, see where everything's moved, and update all the injuries. So that'll do it on the Pat Mayo Experience. Check out all the cheat sheets in the description if you want to, all right? I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!